ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into the NCWB studios. I'm here, obviously, in the booth, Isaac Williams. I'm your host, here with Bryson McGee, my partner in crime, Mr. Commissioner in the cabin of the Carolina Crush. This latest episode is for a World Series preview. Obviously, we're going to be previewing the 2022 World Series. That'll be between none other than Bryson McGee's Carolina Crush, the 1 seed from the National League, as you guys saw in the NLCS, and then the number 2 seed, Eastern Express, after completing the upset of my Southeastern Sharks. Bryson, before we get into it, kind of give me some of your thoughts as you're here on another episode of WBW, and this one with a lot at stake in the upcoming series.
Yeah, it's just really crazy to say that we're already to the World Series and we're already to this point of the 2022 season. It feels just like yesterday we were getting everything ready for the 2022 season, so it's just been a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful to be here in this position to go battle for another World Series championship, and I'm just excited to see how it all turns out.
Well, we are too. I know you guys are. It's going to be a good one. If it's anything like the rest of the season, even though you guys were 15-3 in the regular season, every game was a battle. It felt like even on opening day when you swept the Express. Which, speaking of that, we'll talk about that. Even when you guys swept them, you beat them by a total of 3, 5, 4. So a total of 12 runs. So an average margin of 4 in this series. Give me some of your takeaways from the 2022 season. Knowing that even though the record showed a dominant season, you guys had a really tough run.
Yeah, we just battled really well down the wire, and we were able to pull out the games. And late in the games, we were able to pull them out in the third, fourth inning when we would go to extra. So it just says a lot about me and James, the veteran leadership, like I talked about earlier in the year on episode 1 of Wiffle.
That's very true. I thought about that this week.
The veteran leadership, not knowing how it'll work out, us being the first year together, but once we got to playing, we noticed that we were going to click really well, and the veteran leadership was just going to roll. And James helped me make decisions out in the field that bettered the team and all that good stuff. So just having the veteran leadership really helped out this year late in the games in the third and fourth inning for us to be able to pull them out late in the game.
Well, I want to ask you this. So, looking here, obviously you swept the Eastern Express on opening day. And at that point, your dad said it's going to be a long season. And it was. It was a really rough season for them. They finished at 500, obviously, just a game behind us in the American League. So it's not like the Express had a bad year by any means. They didn't have a losing season, and 3 out of 4 teams had a 500 or above record. Yeah. And the Bulldogs talk about it all the time. 2-16, they're not a 2-16 team.
No,
they're truthfully, the way they played the majority of their games were a 15-3 team. Mm-hmm. Just didn't come out on their end. But at what point, looking back on the NLCS, now that you've had some time to reflect, looking back on it, at what point did you think, hey, maybe we'll get this thing done? Looking back on the NLCS and back further into the season, at what point did it kind of click with you and say, maybe we got a chance?
Just about middle ways through game 1, it really we rolled with the momentum really well into game 2, and knowing that the Bulldogs battled really well late in the games and brought them back in the third inning, that's where they really picked up most of their runs. So about middle of game 1, and me and James noticed that we were clicking really well, and in the third inning we stayed hot and we were able to pull out game 1. We knew we needed to battle right into game 2 and just keep it close, not too close, but keep it close so they didn't score first and then just get on the board real quick. So we just we battled, and it was a really close game in game 2, going back to the walk there in the bottom of the third.
I was going to ask you, looking back on that, I know some of the fans had some comments on that. When you look at the approach that you took and walking, and granted, I'm not saying you were wrong in doing that. Good strategy. Taylor Furchess hit over 900 in the NLCS. So knowing that he hit that well in 2 games, and knowing what Brett Wiseman was capable of, kind of what was going through your mind when you made that call to get the 4?
We had done that early in game 1. Mm-hmm. James had made that call on the mound because he got the start for the series. He made that call early in game 1 to walk Taylor and put Brett back in the box, and Brett capitalized, and he scored. I think he hit a 2-run double or a 2-run
something like that.
Like that. So that was in the back of my mind, but I knew how well Taylor had hit me all day, and during the NLCS, I knew I did not want him anywhere near the box there with a chance to walk it off because, like I said, they run with momentum very well. So potentially, if that Taylor would have walked off in game 2 and sent it to a game 3, me and James knew how their momentum would shift and how they play off momentum, and so we knew we would have a very tough battle in game 3 to be able to pull it off and send us to the World Series. So going back to that walk, I knew I knew I had a base open. I knew how well Taylor had hit me in game 2 and then hit James in game 1. So I just decided to put him on, and it worked out in our favor, and we were able to pull it out.
And it worked. That's all you can say is it worked out in your favor. I don't think it was a bad move at all. I think it's a lot of strategy involved, and it's part of the game.
It's nothing against Taylor. Me and Taylor grew up very well together, and we've been best friends since kindergarten. So it's nothing against Taylor. It's how good of a ball player he is, and that's when it comes down to the World Series and the strategy part of it. I mean, you're going to do everything to win. So
it's a move you got to make.
It's a move you got to make.
So looking at moving past the Bulldogs here, looking kind of back through the regular season, series number 1 in particular right here, and series number 12, flipping over to you guys, your only regular season series loss, 2 of your 3 losses in 2022 came by the Express in series number 12. So knowing that they're the only team that beat you in a series this season, what do you think you can take away from that? Combined with your experience in the NLCS to kind of put those pieces together and potentially make another championship run?
Just learning how Brian had pitched, Dad had pitched, and that series he changed a bunch of things up from that series to get ready for y'all, I think, or
he did.
Vice versa. So just learning how he pitched like that in that series, and taking that for if he pitches in the World Series. That'll be the main thing because I didn't hit him that well at all, and so just learning that and learning his release points and all that, and learning how he pitched me, I think will be one of the main keys. So just watching film and just learning. Also to note, we haven't seen Jackson since opening day basically, so it'll be a lot different seeing him come back for the World Series and seeing how he performed. Well,
and speaking of Jackson, we can talk about how he performs. A postseason Carroll, Jackson Carroll was an absolute stud in the ALCS. He very, very Josh Logan like. He came in, Josh. We'll always reference Josh Logan because Josh Logan coming in didn't have a great pitching arm. He didn't do well on the mound, and late in the year when the Preds needed him, he delivered, and Josh Logan was 2021 Rookie of the Year for a reason, folks. Josh Logan pitched really well, and Jackson Carroll reminded me of him primarily because he came in with the primary pitch of the riser. The riser. And it was almost as filthy, if not filthier, than Josh Logan's.
Yes.
It stayed flat. It rose late. It had all the components to being a successful pitch and being able to keep hitters off balance. I think he did really well with that. Looking at his offensive stats in the American League Championship Series against the Sharks, he hit 742 with 2 home runs and 10 RBIs, and that's in 3 games. And, looking further back than that, the 2022 regular season where he played 12 games, he had 18 home runs, 66 RBIs, and a batting average of, I think, upwards of 500 or 600. So when you look at what he did in only 12 games, so we can only imagine, had he been able to have played a full, healthy year, it leads me to think, man, 2023, he's got to be an MVP candidate. Looking at how well he did, and just in those 12 games, because you do the math on that, he probably would have had 25 to 30 home runs, and every bit of it. He probably maybe could have pushed your RBI total. I don't know, but and then the pitching. Jackson Carroll came in the ALCS with a 4.24 ERA in those 3 games. And I think he threw 5 2/3 innings. You'll see his pitching stats right here from the series. But it's the lowest ERA to anybody in 2022.
Oh yeah.
Now, that's not to take anything away from anybody else that pitched a full season. No. Bryson dealt, I think, like a 6 ERA in 18 games during 2022. But to come in after not playing wiffle ball for 2 months, and to and to deal the way that Jackson Carroll did,
2 months to the day.
Exactly. And I've got to ask this question, Bryson. So knowing how he pitched against us, does that make you nervous at all? Knowing what he brings to the table as a potential ace for the Express?
Definitely a little bit. Considering that we haven't faced him since opening day, and he's changed a whole lot, and so knowing that and having that in the back of my mind, I wish he was a part of I wish he was healthy for that last series against us, so we could have learned and maybe film and all that to get ready for the World Series on him, but just learning what we have and from what we saw in the ALCS, just learning that and just taking that and trying to apply in every little bit to the World Series and just seeing what we can do. It'll be a lot of fun to see how he does in the World Series in a high-pressure state, but I mean, it's going to be a battle for sure. So
it will be. And with that being said, let's look at the bracket, folks. I know you saw it after the NLCS, the final spots. Obviously, the 1 seed Carolina Crush advancing with the Bulldogs being eliminated, and on the flip side, the Express, the 2 seed advancing from the American League, and the Southeastern Sharks 1 seed being eliminated as well. That's the final bracket, and we'll look at the series now. So looking at the 2022 World Series, you got number 1 seed Carolina Crush coming in at 17-3 on the year. The Express coming in at 11-10. Obviously, this is a cumulative record. We'll see that throughout the World Series. We'll see the cumulative records begin to pile up. Yeah. But Bryson, you guys won the regular season series 4-2, and knowing that if you get to 6 losses on the year, the season comes to a close. Yeah. What's kind of your mindset going into this series, knowing that it's all on the line now, and it's anybody's ball game.
Like I said earlier, it's just crazy how we're already to this point, and so now just knowing that we're in the World Series, we're just playing one game at a time, and every game is going to be a battle, and we are to give 110% no matter what, no matter how much we're down, no matter how down we get on ourselves, we're still going to keep fighting, and I think that's one thing that says a lot about me and James as a whole. Just we battle down to the wire a whole lot, and so we'll just battle and just keep playing Crush Wiffle Ball, and no matter what the outcome is, I've had a lot of fun this year, and I can't believe it's already almost over. I can't say enough about the league and just how much fun I have doing it.
Well, and kind of touch on that, you mentioned the end of the year and the World Series and everything, but just to rewind just for a moment before we close out this episode, this is your 4th straight World Series appearance. Now we'll talk a little bit about this in the World Series and pre-games and whatnot, but as you look back on this run that you've had, 4 straight World Series appearances, obviously only being able to play 2 of them thus far because of injuries and whatnot. 1 championship under your belt, obviously that's obviously washed. The Crush have none. So what's it going to take for you guys? I know you kind of just touched on this, but what's it going to take for you to be able to capture the first title of the 2-man era and your 2nd World Series overall out of 4?
Just playing down to the wire and playing all the way to the end, all 3 innings, 110%. Just getting a hold to the getting started early and keeping the momentum rolling throughout all 3 innings of the game. I think that's what the main thing is. I think whoever scores first has the momentum. So I think scoring first will be definitely key. So if we can keep that to a minimum in games 1 and 2, I think we'll be better off. But I don't know. Like I said, Jackson's coming back. First time I faced him since opening day. It's going to be a little tough. Dad, he hits me really well. So just mixing in everything and just learning from all that and just
Well, I think you said a lot. And last but not least, do you think, you mentioned the away team having momentum because they get to score first. Yes. Do you think the Express have any sort of edge, being that they're the away team for the first 2 games and you guys have to start off on defense? Do you think that gives them any sort of bump, or do you think it's just kind of a matter of who shows up on any given night?
I think the past 2 years we've seen a mix of both. We've seen the away team get to score first and they run with it. We've seen the home team shut the away team down in the top of the first, and then them score and ride the momentum. So I think it just depends on who comes to play and who shows up, and I think that'll be the key factor in how the games go. If you score first, you can ride the momentum and shut them down in the bottom of the first. If we hold them, we can shut them down. We can score and then ride the momentum. So I think it's just going to be a mixture of both. Just depends on who comes to play and who wants it more.
I think that's very well said. Well, Bryson, congratulations to you again. Another pennant for the Crush, your 2nd consecutive pennant. Looking forward to a great World Series. I think you've summed it up really well. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Wiffle Ball Weekly. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be back in the studio with Bryson, and just with anybody. It's always a blast, whether we're here in North Carolina, or whether we're on the road in Atlanta or South Carolina, wherever we end up. It's always a blast doing this show. Thank you guys for tuning in.
We have 2 more in the 2022 season.
2 more episodes in the season. Yeah, we'll have a recap after games 1 and 2 of the World Series, and then a recap after the series comes to a close. And looking forward to those. They'll be great. I have no doubt they'll be good. They'll be good episodes. And folks, that's going to do it for tonight. As always, to see our most recent video, click in this corner. And if you want to see, like and subscribe to our channel, click in this corner. As always, I'm Isaac Williams, your host. This has been Wiffle Ball Weekly World Series Preview 2022. Game 1 will be here next. And guys, be sure to check it out. Thanks so much for everything you do for us and for supporting us. And we will say goodnight and see you next time.
See y'all.